Welcome to Airborne on 88.5 FM WFCF and staugustine.com, bringing interesting people from your world so you can stay dialed into your community and the folks who make it tick. I want to welcome to the couch here at Airborne, let me see if I pronounce correctly now, Maricela Veiga. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Veiga.
Veiga. Okay,
yeah.
Forgive me, I'm doing the best I can.
That's all right, that's all right.
You are an author and a journalist, and you've got quite a history in journalism. Can you tell us some of the publications we may have seen your work in?
Well, I have been writing feature articles the last few years and mostly covering the U.S. Hispanic experience. I contribute columns to Hispanic Link News Service in Washington, D.C., and my columns are nationally syndicated. Mm-hmm. And I've also written for the Washington Post. I've written for Poets and Writers magazine. I've written for Art in America. I've written for some travel magazines, and I've had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun doing that.
You've also recently produced a CD right here in St. Johns County, in St. Augustine, at Eclipse.
Yes, Eclipse Recording Studio.
Our good friend Jim Stafford at Eclipse Recording Studio. And the title of it is Square Watermelons. Would you care to share with our viewers what you mean by square watermelons?
Why the title?
Why the title?
Yeah, actually, I saw in the Washington Post a picture of these square watermelons that were produced by the Japanese in order to increase shipment, the ease in shipment.
Right.
And I was amazed by them, and I also thought it was a good metaphor for the bicultural experience, in that one is born, mm-hmm. if you would permit me to use the metaphor, with one culture, sort of round like a melon, right? And then when you move into another culture, you're shaped by that culture and you're sort of made square. So you're naturally watermelon, and that's your natural culture, your first culture, but you have a greater culture that you also work and live in. And that's why I thought the metaphor was apt.
That's actually fairly profound. I think we all feel it sometime or another as the proverbial round peg in the square hole.
Yes, it is. I think it extends to everyone, and how we're born a particular way, and then by the time we get through adulthood, we are definitely shaped, if not beaten into shape.
To use a euphemism, sure is shaped. Now, on the CD, these are nationally syndicated pieces that are now in, can we describe it as spoken word form?
Yes, that's what they are now. They have been printed across the U.S. in English and some in Spanish.
Why did you decide to record them?
Well, I'd been invited to give readings of my fiction and poetry. I'm also trained as a poet at different universities, and I would read a few of them, and people liked them. They would laugh, and I had a good time writing them, and oh wow, and it was just a lot of fun. It was great fun to write them, mm-hmm. and it's a lot of fun to read them, and people, they laugh and enjoy them, and they, I think, hopefully get a better understanding of how it is to live with two cultures and some of the confusion that may arise.
Having attended a poetry reading or two, for those who may not be initiated, it's a performance art.
Yes.
It really ends up being a lot of fun sometimes, mm-hmm. or not, but it's evocative, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It really is. It's wonderful to hear a poet read his or her work.
I think it lends some insight, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely.
These selections on the CD, what are some of the topics? What are the things you're writing or speaking about?
Well, the first one I wrote was the education of the bicultural dog, and that was a lot of fun because I was trying to figure out how I was going to raise my first dog, and I wanted to do it the American way, which I thought, was more disciplined and so on. Anyway, so I explored that and had a lot of fun with it. I've also got one on my name being such an issue, and pronunciation, and I've had a lot of fun with that. Mm-hmm. Latin time, an exploration of the stereotype. Oh, Latins are always late. when actually I am neurotically early, as
You were here waiting for me today.
I was waiting for you. And so, those are a few of the topics. It's family, food, no politics. I've left that alone for someone else to explore.
But may I share that you are a Cuban exile?
Yes, I am.
And you've lived in Miami.
Yes.
By law. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
way up in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Yes.
And now you're here in St. Augustine. You've got to explain to us how this transfer took place and how you wound up here.
Okay. Well, we came from Cuba in 1960, and we were in Miami, and we resettled in St. Paul, Minnesota. That's where I learned to speak English.
Really?
And that's where I was acculturated to the Scandinavian life, and hockey and all those kinds of winter sports and so on. And so that's a part of who I am.
Wow.
And it's unusual for a Cuban to be from Minnesota. But anyway, that happened. And in '68, we moved back to Miami. So I continued there, living there for the rest of, my education, except my last 2 years of college, I went back to Minnesota. Anyway, the bottom line is when I was deciding where to live with my husband, we thought St. Augustine. We both liked the town, the city, and the beaches and the area. And I wanted to live in a place where my name was not going to be an issue. I think everyone who comes here, even 5-year-olds who go to know that the Spanish were the first in St. Augustine, and so I wouldn't have some of the questions or the conflicts that I've had. I've lived in other parts of the States where they're like, what are you doing here? And it can be a time-consuming little struggle. That's the way I phrase it in one of the essays.
Sure, explaining when you shouldn't have to explain, is that
right?
Yeah, understood. There's not only spoken word on this CD, there's also guitar. Is it flamenco guitar, Spanish guitar?
No.
Tell us a little bit about the guitar work and the guitarist.
No, the guitarist is Mario Escandel, and he is a family friend whom I've known for 25 years. And what he's done is he's taken Cuban popular music and arranged it for the classical guitar. And he's just a beautiful guitarist, and I'm so happy that his music is on the CD. It really adds a lot to what I'm saying.
Does it provide some depth, some atmosphere? What to you does it provide, the musical accompaniment? Well,
to me, the accompaniment provides a sense of home. It really feels, not just because it's from Cuba, but because that's the music that my father played at home. He also plays guitar. And so it really means home to me. And I'm really very happy that it's there.
Do you have any suggestions for those who might want to learn more and maybe listen to more? What would they expect, and why would they, what would they get from listening to your CD, if I can use the term get from it? What would they draw from this experience?
Well, I would hope that they would be provided with some entertainment, because I had a good time doing it, and I think they might enjoy that. And the music is wonderful. And also education, so that perhaps a greater understanding of what it's like to live with two cultures, so that it doesn't become such an alien experience for those who are monocultural and say, oh, is that what it's about? Assimilation is a process that does not happen in 5 years or 10 years. I mean, I've been here almost 50 years, and the assimilation process is still ongoing. That's how it is.
Right.
And so, and I think a lot of people find that difficult to understand, especially I think with the Cuban exile community. I mean, I know you go to Miami and suddenly,
You're immersed.
Right,
Yeah.
and no one speaks English, and I know there's a lot of frustration with people who only speak English to find that. But there's a lot of wonderful things to be learned from one another's culture. and other cultures. I mean, I'm always happy to learn about a third, fourth, fifth, sixth. I mean, and if I can adapt it to my own life, if it's good and I think, hey, this is great, you know, I'll go for it. You know, why not?
Where can viewers find these CDs and learn about them, and perhaps they might be interested in purchasing one? Where would they go?
Well, online you can order through eclipserecording.com, www.eclipserecording.com, or call the studio. And then Wendy B. Tatter's Studio and Gallery on San Marco. Wendy's has them right now.
Oh.
So she's got them in the shop.
Excellent. Well, Maricela Veiga, did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, you did.
I'm getting better.
You are. We're going to have a Spanish lesson after this.
After this, we'll get on work on that. Thank you so much for sharing your art with us.
Thank you.
And I hope we can have you back again sometime as you continue to produce more artwork and would like to share it with us. I'm sure our viewers would be very interested.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
It's our pleasure. And you've been Airborne with Matt Jeffs on 88.5 FM and staugustine.com. We bring you interesting people from your world so you can stay dialed in to your community and the folks who make it tick. See you next time, everybody.